Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to be commenting on your comments. So I'm going to be scrolling down to about 2 weeks ago in the comment section and start scrolling through and answering some of the questions that you guys had, as well as just elaborating on some of the ones I already gave answers to, but maybe there's some additional antidotes I can give or just little tidbits or helpful bits that I just wasn't able to include fully into that comment, but that I can do here on video. I do have a couple of announcements, I guess. Our first announcement is we are officially monetized here on the channel. Yay! Super exciting. Very, very happy stuff. We got the notification today that we are officially monetized and we can start receiving, you know, AdSense revenue and things like that. So super exciting milestone here. It happened way faster than I could have ever imagined. And I, of course, just have to say thank you so much. Obviously would not be here without all of those of you who have been tuning in every week to catch the latest as to what's either going on within my business or any sort of just information or value I can share. I know a lot of you guys are here for Whatnot content, and I'm still loving and enjoying making that, and will continue to be doing that for a long time because I'm still a seller on Whatnot and I love it. I do want to ask you guys before we get started reviewing the comments and going over some of the things you guys have asked in the last few weeks is what is some of your favorite videos you've seen so far? I know the educational value packed ones are definitely the ones that get the most views, and that's what I'm here to do, so I'm going to keep creating those. But do you have any sort of style you've noticed that I do that you prefer more than others? So for example, sometimes I do like a vloggy style where I'm taking you guys with me through the day, going down and sourcing, taking you to the auction, and that's just kind of all the video is. It's just kind of a sourcing video. And then there's videos where I'm sitting down just like this and it's all talking head and I'm just talking to you guys. And then there's videos where I'm a little bit more active. Maybe I'm moving around in my office, I'm showing you a process or a tangible real life example here in my store of how I'm doing something. So like out of those kinds of styles, like is there any one that particularly jumps out to you? And if so, can you just pop it down below in the comment real quick? Just type out which style you like and then keep watching and you can leave a better comment later. But I just want to know kind of right off the bat, like what is everyone's like main style of interest? Sorry, I don't know if you guys can hear that, but the fire trucks are going by and the police trucks and the ambulances. So it's pretty noisy out there. All right, so let's go ahead and get into it. I'm going to start from the bottom of 2 weeks ago and just kind of comment on some of the things that I've seen you guys mention and see if I can provide any more context for you all. Okay, so here was, so again, this is on, I think on a sourcing video, a lot of these ones, and that's why I'm asking if you like the sourcing videos because they actually are some of my favorite to make and edit. So just kind of curious if that's something you guys would like for me to do more of. Do I ever see the same plush being auctioned again? So when I'm at the Goodwill auction and there's plush on the wall or plush in the bins, like is it the same plush? Like how often are they rotating it out? So the answer to that one is no. I personally don't see the same plush. I go every 2 weeks. So it's a very slim chance that I'm going to go to the auction and see pretty much anything that I've seen before, because after about 2 weeks, a lot of that stuff has cycled back out of there. Now, if you go every week, there's 2 auctions per week, then you're probably going to see some of the same stuff every single week. I do see repeat stuff at the outlet all the time, of course, but the auction is a little bit different. So I'm not worried about bidding on it thinking that I'm going to be getting a bunch of stuff I've already seen. Okay, this one is talking about how I have so many sources near me. So it's so cool you have so many sourcing options and have a process for each. Thanks for giving us a glimpse at what all is involved. So I do have a lot of sourcing options around me. I have tons and tons and tons of thrift stores from all different branches of thrift stores, like your Goodwills, your CHKDs, Disabled American Veterans. There's a store called Village Thrift, and there's a few others, but those are the main ones I go to, as well as a Goodwill auction and a couple Goodwill outlets. So I definitely have a lot of sourcing around me. I live in a highly populated area, huge military town. So we do have a lot of thrift options for sure. And I always like to recommend keeping that in mind when you are getting into a niche and you're starting to become a reseller, or you're thinking about broadening out your niches and maybe start learning something new. Make sure you have enough of that inventory. When I started selling on Whatnot in particular, I was in Disney, and it only took me a few months, maybe about 6 months, to realize that I had pretty much bought out anything Disney around me, and Disney was not that easy to come by, and there's a lot of competition. So I had to kind of stop sourcing and selling Disney primarily because I ran out of Disney stuff to buy. So it was nice to be able to transition into something that I do have a lot of around me, which is books. Okay, this one is new to your channel. How do you package your books without bending the corners? Which is an awesome question. I use corrugated cardboard. I actually have a shipping video. I'll try to see if I can remember to link it up here. And it goes through how I ship. I use basically it's a giant roll of brown corrugated cardboard that I cut to size, and I will wrap it around the small stacks of books that can go in a poly bag. And when I package it all up that way and maybe wrap some paper around it, it's really nicely protected. I pop it in a poly bag and I've never had any complaints shipping that way. And then anything that's bigger than a small pile of books will go into a box. So I use packing paper inside of the box as always, and I don't have to usually worry about any damage on my books. So this was a comment about it being disappointing when a source dries up and kind of having to pivot. And that has been the story of my life. And I have just been doing it nonstop every day. And I am at a point where I'm not expecting there to be anything. I don't expect for there to be a plethora of books. I don't expect for there to be no books. I just walk in and I take what I can get and I do the best I can. If I need to buy more of something else to subsidize the lack of something that I have, i.e. books mostly, then that's what I'll do. Right now, books are starting to come back. My table under here is starting to get kind of full again. So it's an ebb and a flow, guys. This business is definitely, there's lots of ups and downs, and you just have to ride those waves. Okay, this comment really got me heated, which was, the DAV is the best thrift store to buy books here in Iowa. They only charge 25 cents each, and that is insane. The DAV prices up the books highest out of any of the thrift stores in my area. The CHKD is comparable, but the DAV is rough. Now, my DAV locally to me is not bad, but the DAV down where I go sourcing every other week is terrible, and I am so curious to see what it looks like. I'm going in, what's today? Tuesday. I'm going in 2 days to go down and see what it looks like, and I'm just so excited. Here's a question about pricing, which was, so I tried to get my books under $1. Is it worth it to buy kids' books for $1? My prices on softbacks are $1, and sometimes I feel like that's too much, considering considering I price most of my children's books at $2. Should I raise my prices? Which is an excellent question. And I think I responded saying that $1 is probably a little too high for children's books. At the Goodwill locally, up until about 4 or 5 months ago, children's books were $1. And I very rarely bought children's books from Goodwill store, right? I would buy them at the outlet for 25 cents or 50 cents. Now they've changed the price to 49 cents for kids' books, and it's amazing, and I buy kids' books there all the time. So I agree with you. A lot of my kids' books are $2, but I'm buying, for example, this Peppa Pig book is 25 cents, and I sell it for $2 after fees. I'm still breaking over $1 in a profit on that single book, right? So I don't know if it's a need to raise the prices per se, depending on the books you're selling, but make sure that if you are picking up books at $1, any book for $1, that your return on investment is just there for you. Whatever you need that number to be for you to make it worth it. I do a lot of bulk, so I'm able to make my return on investment per item a little bit smaller because I have, you know, certain books that bring in a higher dollar value, and so I can sell some books for cheaper. Now, if that doesn't work for you and you don't do volume, you need to consider, can I spend $1 on a book and sell it for $2 and make, 70 cents after fees? Is that worth it for you? Oh, okay. Here's a really good question. Should I allow non-verified buyers on my first stream? And that's a really good question. I actually allow all buyers in my stream. As far as I know, you do not have to be a verified buyer. I don't think I have that turned on. I am pretty sure that I allow pretty much anyone to come in, because a lot of times people want to explore the app without putting their information in, and I totally understand that. And I would love to be able to show people an example of what the platform is like without them feeling like they have to put their credit card information. It's then my job to convince them that they should, because I'm showing something at such a great price and such a good value that they want to buy it, and then they'll put their credit card information in and become a verified buyer. But I let everyone into my stream, and I've never had an issue with it. It would be really cool and helpful if you were to show a real show on how to do sudden death auctions and how to keep track of who bought what. And that's fun, because I actually don't do sudden death auctions. It's not my jam, but it's super simple. Basically, when you set the timer to run an auction, every time anytime someone bids on an auction, it'll reset the clock. Maybe you can actually set it now, 3 seconds, 5 seconds, 10 seconds, and it'll reset it so that there's plenty of time for more people to bid on the item. That's a traditional auction. Sudden death means you set the timer for however long. Say you want it to run for 25 seconds. After 25 seconds, it will count down to 1 second. Whoever puts that very last bid in at the very last second of it counting down wins. And so you never know who's going to win it until it pops up on the screen, and it's just a lot of anxiety, and it's just not my thing. I don't do hype shows. My items are not anything to be hyped about. They're things that can be exciting and fun for us as readers and lovers of books, but they are not anything that's just like, you have to have this, and I'm trying to get everyone excited by doing sudden death. So I personally don't do sudden death auctions, but they are a lot of fun if you want to give them a try. And then as far as how to keep track of who bought what, I kind of discussed this in my video where I did the start to finish show. It's the over hour-long video I published last week, and I do talk about how I do bundling in my show and kind of show it a little bit hands-on in the show. Basically, to kind of elaborate on that, what I typically do is just utilize post-it notes. So when I do bundles, I'm writing their name down on a post-it note, starting a stack for them, and I'm only adding books into their stack when they ask for them. As far as an auction goes, it's still post-it notes. I will run the auction, and then I will write on the post-it note what auction that was, right? Like what number was it? How did I label that auction? And I'll stick it on the book, and I just put it to the side. And then I just, every time I run an auction, I do that. And then at the end of the show on the dashboard, Whatnot will separate all your orders up on their own. Like they will put the orders of who bought what in, how do I say this? In your dashboard, it'll pop up with all the buyers you had and everything they ordered. So it'll say, you know, Amanda, buyer, right? And it'll have the 3 things Amanda bought. And then you just match those 3 things up and you put it into their order. And that's how you do it. And then the address and shipping information, all that's on Whatnot's end. You don't have to acquire their address. You don't need to do anything else. Just like you would do on any other selling platform, you would just print out the label and go pack it up, print out the label, right? That's how I keep track of everything. It's mostly just post-it notes. Post-it notes will be your best friend. So I actually just kind of talked about this comment, which was, can you please explain the process of how bids work during a live show and how to find the client's addresses for shipping? Again, Whatnot will take care of all the addresses. Buyers put that in on their end, just like they would on eBay. They'd come onto your eBay store and buy something. You don't need to then message the buyer for the address. Not anymore, right? We're back when you used to have to like write checks to each other and stuff, but not anymore. All that stuff is electronic. It happens without you needing to do anything. And then the bids, I kind of explained this just a second ago. When a buyer places a bid, the clock will reset, allowing for more people to come in and bid. And when the clock gets to 0, whoever the last bidder was is the winner. Another comment here, bundles probably make more sales. Buyers get the feeling that to buy more since it feels like shipping won't break the bank. Even if shipping ends up being the same, it doesn't feel that way. It feels like the more I buy, the less everything will be, right? So it's so true. I think that people get it's a psychological thing where when they are able to just kind of put everything into one pile and they can say, okay, my cost is my cost regardless, right? But the shipping, they can see that hard number of $8.22. It's like, okay, that's how much my shipping is, versus my shipping was $4.87, and then I had free shipping on the next thing, but then the next one was $1.12, and then the next one was 42 cents. And it's just like trying to keep track of all that math because of like auctions. It can be a little bit annoying. And the bundle, I think, really helps solidify like how much shipping actually was. And yes, psychologically, they think they're spending less. Okay, if I have a buyer that buys several items, how do I bundle their purchase, right? So if you have a buyer that buys a few things on auction, maybe they buy something from your Buy It Now, and they purchase a bundle, you do not need to worry about bundling all those things. Again, Whatnot will do that on the back end. They will take everything, put it into an organized system when you pull it up, and you'll see everything that your buyer ordered. And so you know what goes in everyone's package. I really loved this comment. So sweet. Really helped me break out of my shell. Been in the platform for over a year, watching and participating as a mod. I always thought, hey, I can do this, but never followed through until now. You helped me gain the confidence to forge ahead. Thank you for the kind words. And I am so glad that my presence here on the app has definitely, from what I've gotten from messages and comments, encouraged a lot of people to really like take the step or take next steps utilizing Whatnot as a selling platform. And just makes me really happy because I think it's a really great platform. I definitely think there's still a lot of work that needs to be done, and there's a lot of growth to be had. But for where we're at right now, it's a great place to be. And I encourage you to get on there and start building an audience, start finding your people, and start figuring out if it's something that you want to incorporate like overall into your business model, it's a lot of fun to like meet friends and just sell stuff as quickly as you can on that platform. So highly encourage it, and so glad you guys are getting value from the videos, and it's encouraging. It feels so good. All right, what else do we got? I have Deborah in the chat, Timmy Penny, aka Deborah. Hereby I anoint myself as your #1 fan. I'm for it, Deborah. Okay, so this was a question I got a lot about from last week's video, which was about the cubby books. Like, how do I do the cubby? So if you guys see these empty slots over here, guys, this is the empty cubby. It is Tuesday, so there's no one in there. And tonight I'll have my show here shortly, and everyone will fill that cubby up with books that they would like to save and buy in another show. And the reason why I do that is because it saves overall on shipping, and it saves me on time. Instead of every Tuesday forcing everyone to cash out and having to pack a bunch of tiny little packages, I could just do one big day of shipping every single Monday and get all of the orders, for most of the orders for the week, shipped out in one day versus having to do shipping multiple times a week, right? So the cubby's great, but one of the questions here was, what happens if the buyer doesn't come back? Like, what do you do? And there's a couple things. So again, cubby is for books that are under 6 inches in height. So say you have a stack, you know, this big, it's maybe about 5 inches. You can put them in the cubby and come back onto the next book show and see if you want to add some more books, and then maybe cash out then. And everyone has to cash out by Saturday. So those are the only rules, right? Under 6 inches, cash out by Saturday. If they don't come back on Saturday, then they forfeit their books. And we do what is called an adoption process. So there will be people that will be waiting to see if there's any books that were abandoned, and they are now called orphans. And we take the orphans and we show them, and we give them an opportunity to be potentially readopted. And most of the time, like, they're all taken. Every now and again there's 1 or 2 books left over, but for the most part they get all scooped up, and then I don't have to worry about it. So I don't hold books after Saturday. If you are not here on Saturday and you had books in the cubby, they're no longer there. If you do them more than 3 times, then you are not allowed to utilize the cubby, because it's just not something that you're able to come back in and get every week. And so it's a waste of everyone's time, as well as sometimes you're taking books that other people wanted and they didn't claim it because you did. So we will just not have them utilize the cubby in the future, but it is not an issue I've had so far. Nobody is perma-banned from the cubby yet. Okay, how long did it take to get a steady flow of customers in your live? I just started and people just come in and leave, and it took a while. It took a few months for me to get like enough people in there where I felt like, okay, I'm doing this, this is a show. And then after about like 6 months, I would say I had a handful of people who were kind of consistently in my shows. And then after about a year, I had like my flow, and I was gaining new followers every single show. And I was just, you know, growing for sure, as well as gaining people who just were like, I like the products you sell, I like the way you sell, I like your shipping, your pricing, whatever it was, and they've just stuck around for the long haul. So I think it's that combination. Again, I've talked about this before on one of my videos, that tall, dark, and handsome approach, that you need to have good quality inventory consistently. You need to have a general sense of like personality. You need to have, you know, fair pricing, a good model. There's a few things you need to have to just really like make this whole thing work. And so if you're not keeping people entertained, you don't have good product, and you're not even on consistently, you're doing 1 show a month, you can't expect to gain a following. You have to kind of show up for people to show up for you. All right, next question. When you have only a few people in the show, can you show the same titles again? And I know there needs to be a few titles for the regulars, but I'm still kind of new, and people are coming in that haven't seen the old books, right? So you guys were killing it with some of the questions this week. I was really happy to answer a lot of the questions that came in. And that's a great question. So let's say you pre-list all your shows in the auction. You don't really do bundles. Maybe you run a bunch of individual auctions, which is totally fine. And you have 25 items listed, and you've already gone through all 25 items, but there's new people in there, and there's people that haven't seen the books that you're showing. While you also need to be telling them, hey, go to the auction tab, browse what I have, and make any requests. I don't have to run them in any particular order. Just let me know if there's something you'd like for me to run, and I'll run it. I'm just going to be running books throughout as I'm talking or hanging out, or as people pop in and out, and you're just taking a book, putting it up and running it, whether it sells or not. You take another book, put it up and run it. You can definitely keep doing that whether you've already showed those books or not. That is totally okay. All right, this was a really good question because I talked a lot about the playlist that I use in my shows, and the question was, so just to make sure I understand, it's okay to use copyright music during your Whatnot show. And no, it is not okay to use copyright music during your Whatnot show. It's not okay to use copyright music doing anything when you are bringing in a profit from it. I use it, and a lot of people do, and It's never been an issue, knock on wood. I just want to confirm that no, it is not, you're not allowed to. You can use non-copyrighted music. If you have Spotify or Apple or YouTube, there are tons of non-copyrighted free music that you can use in your shows. They're just not popular music songs that people are going to know. If I'm doing USPS, I need their boxes or bags, right? If you're using priority mail, you can use the free packing supplies that the post office provides. They have all different shapes and sizes, poly bags and boxes, and you can use those. I personally don't use priority mail. I usually use Ground Advantage and Media Mail. So I don't typically have to worry about that because I'm using recycled boxes and just generic white poly bags that I get from Amazon. It was so nice to get all of the great video. Thank you. Super educational, great instructional video, helpful. One of my friends, TJ, commenting, obviously I know how to run an whatnot auction, but you're such a good teacher. I watched this whole video and learned some new nuggets. And I just like love that. Somebody who does do whatnot, who's very familiar with the platform and is way more familiar with like technology and how to utilize all the different perks and features of stuff than I am, to say, you know, still learn some things. It just makes me feel really good. So I'm so glad that you guys are finding these videos helpful, and it makes my heart so happy. Okay, so Jamie ended up having a ton of questions. So I'm gonna rapid fire through Jamie's questions because my show's actually about to start in like 10 minutes. So I'm gonna rapid fire through these last few questions and wrap this video up. And then I'm gonna do something educational for you guys next week. I just ended up having a long hiatus from editing that hour-long video. It was a lot, and I don't know if you guys noticed, but I put it out like a whole day late. It was just a whole thing, and so yeah, it was a whole long video, and I'm just exhausted from it. So I'm just doing this kind of rapid-fire Q&A style video for this week, and then we'll be back to normal next week. I appreciate your patience with my posting schedule, guys. All right, how do you choose the amount to sell the books for? Do you use Google Lens or an app? I do not use anything. I choose them on my own. Some things have set pricing. For example, that Peppa Pig book I showed you, $2. Those little square books are always $2. Leveled readers are always $1. Graphic novels are $3. Most of my kids' chapter books are $2 each or 6 for 10. I just have kind of a set price, and I let people know throughout the show the pricing. I let people know throughout the show the pricing structure, as well as pin it up in my show notes so people can kind of see the rough estimate of my books. And I set the price myself by what I think and know the book should and is valued at. Another question from Jamie: could I specialize in children's books and make $1,000 a week as a new seller doing bundles? And I said, no, unfortunately, I can't even make $1,000 a week selling just children's books in bundles. I could try, but it would not be easy. I would say it would be very realistic to say if you went live 2 to 3 days a week for a few hours and specialized just in good quality children's books that are desirable at a fair price and did bundles, you could make close to $1,000, but I don't think it would just be some easy thing that you're going to do. You would have to have really good high value like books at a good cost. Have you ever sourced books from your neighborhood as free pickup? And yes, I have. I do a free book pickup service. And one of the follow-up questions on that was, what do you say like to advertise that? I have a Facebook ad that basically says, you know, free book pickup service. And I say, hi, like, do you have books that you're looking to clear out of your closet or attic or garage or bookshelves and want to donate them? I can come pick them up for free for you as long as they are from a smoke-free home and are in good overall condition. And then I let people know the distance that I'd be willing to travel within our area. And I just vet messages when they come in. I ask them follow-up questions. Sometimes I ask for a reference photo, and I mostly just ask if they are smoke-free and in good condition, like good readable condition, not tattered condition is really the only thing I care about. You don't want to drive a whole while to go get books that are just dilapidated. So utilize like Facebook Marketplace is a really good place. The Nextdoor app is really good, and just let people know that you sell books and that you're always taking donations. Talking a little bit more about the children's books. So it was, do you sell a particular age? Do you find that a particular age category of children's books sell more than others? So on and so forth. And the answer to that was yes. The baby toddler books sell really well, and upwards of like 5-6 years old sells really well. When you start getting to the beginner chapter books, you will still get some traction. Beginner chapter books can do really well, but then once you get to about that 3rd, 4th grade into like lower high school, it's kind of a lull for me. I do not carry a ton of books in that age demographic because those are what move the slowest for me. And then I start And then it'll start picking back up when you get into the young adult books. So when you can start talking about things like fantasy and romance and spookier topics, those are very popular as well. But I will say that like 8 to 12, 8 to 15-ish age range is not my best movers by a long shot. What app are you using to scan your books? Is it Scoutly? Nope, I don't use anything to scan my books. I use my brain to scan the books. I pick up books that I know. I pick up books that are recognizable, books that have sold, or books that I think would be really good sellers. Maybe I'm picking up a book specifically for a buyer that I know that they would love that book. And so I'm picking that up just from knowing my buyer base. And then when I do scan books, when I'm like, oh, I'm going to scan this to see if I can sell it elsewhere, I'm using, you know, eBay. I also do sell back your book. So book buyback services you can sell to, and just see if there's other places that maybe, you know, you can make money. So if you see me scanning books, it's either usually eBay or sell back your book. And then that's it. That was actually the last up-to-date question here. I think there's definitely some other really great questions in here, but I just wanted to do a quick recap of what we have kind of talked about over the last 2 weeks. And those were some of the questions that came from those conversations. If you guys have any additional questions, maybe I sparked something or made you think of something, go ahead and pop it below. I'm very attentive in the comments. If you haven't noticed, I do reply to everyone's comments. I may miss your replies from time to time, but I've been trying to get good at like going back and looking at replies as well. So let me know if you have any questions or comments. I will see you guys next week with, of course, another video. Hopefully we'll do some educational stuff next week. Pop any requests in the comments also. Like if you're like, hey, do this, I'm always open to suggestions. I have a running list of ideas. They just don't always line up with my schedule. So if there's anything in particular you're looking for, bombard me in the comments until I make the video. It does not bother me. I want to hear what you guys want to know and what you want to see. I appreciate you guys watching, and I will catch you guys next week. Bye.